I don't think I'm going to get anybody else in, so we might as well make a start. I'm Roisin O'Sullivan from the Madrid office. And initially it was supposed to be on Spain, but obviously we can take care of Portugal as well. So I've just added in a little bit about that. So we'll just, at the start, I mean, you have, I don't know if they've explained it, you're going to get presentations, bigger presentations on both countries. Either, I think it's via the internet, or they're going to give you USB with all of that. So this is just a smaller, kind of more condensed presentation. And it's just to give you kind of maybe a few tips more so than actually tell you all about the retailers and all of that, because you can read that from the other presentations that you get. So we'll just give you a little overview first on both, and then a few our recommendations on what, if you want to target Spain or Portugal, what you should do. Somebody else before I start? No? No. So Spain in figures, as you can see there, 2010 GDP was just over $1 trillion. Population is at 46 million, and Ireland is at the moment ranked about the 8th export market. Our exports were actually up in 2010, which is quite encouraging, because 2008 and 2009 they dropped quite dramatically. And for the first quarter of this year, they're actually up again. So that's quite encouraging. Unemployment, it's one of the largest it was at 21% in 2009. So it has dropped, but it's still quite high. And the VAT rates, they have, as you can see there, basic food products, which is like milk and eggs and that, they have a super reduced rate, which is 4%, and the normal is 8%, and then alcoholic beverages and more gourmet products are 18%. The retail market in itself, it was 97 billion in 2010. The economy, like yourselves here in Ireland, Spain and Portugal were one of the worst hit, along with Greece. So it is showing signs of recovery. The problem is the consumers are still very hesitant to go with that recovery. They're still watching what they spend. Private label is still very big. Price and proximity, we've realised now that the small and medium-sized stores are actually the ones that are performing better, because people don't want to take their car out as often. They're not going to the bigger outlets out in the outskirts. So they're doing their shopping in town. Mercadona still is the leader. Their strategy, it's focused on low prices, and it's a win-win for him. He's still leading the market. Carrefour tried to counteract that as well, and they have like a new slogan, "We lower prices." So there's private label and discount are the biggest things that are selling, and have been and will continue to be, I'd say, for the next maybe 2 to 3 years, until hopefully we get out of the slump that they're in. That's just a quick who's who in the Spanish. So obviously Mercadona, Carrefour, El Corte Inglés, Eroski, and Auchan, which is Alcampo in Spain. They're the biggest, and then you have the smaller ones. Obviously Lidl and Aldi are in there as well. Dinosol is quite a big brand in the Canary Islands and the tourist regions. Food service, just a little bit on that. It was valued at 26 billion in 2010. It has been affected quite badly by the smoking ban. A lot of the small cafes and bars have been affected by it. It came in 2008, but only half of it came in. They still continued to smoke wherever they wanted. You weren't allowed to smoke in public service buildings or banks or anything like that. But the bars, you were supposed to have an area where you could, and then bars and restaurants, but that didn't work. The NAOS is actually an organisation that was set up to do with nutrition and health, and a lot about obesity. Child obesity is very big in Spain, which is quite worrying. So they've done an awful lot in the last couple of years to try and counteract that. And that's having impacts on what the food service chains are having on their menus. They have to change now, because obviously they see the demand for it. Portugal in figures, it's 173 billion. The unemployment rate was 10.9, which is quite. Construction obviously was the biggest thing that hit both countries. Inflation rate of 1.2. The rates are 20. These are new rates that came out in 2011. It's 23%, 13, and the super reduced rate of 6 on the basic foods. The retailers in Portugal. So you have Sonai, which is Modelo. I don't know if very many people are familiar with the Portuguese market, but that's Modelo Continente. The Jerónimo Martín, that's the Pingo Doce shops. Le Mousquetaire, that's actually Intermarché, and then Auchan are present there as well. So the French and German chains, you can see as well, Aldi is there in the Schwarz group. So the French and Germans, they really are quite present in both markets. How to do business. We consider the Iberian markets, we consider Spain and Portugal to be two markets in one. And what we mean by that is that you have the national market and then you have the tourist market, which are two totally different markets. So depending on your product, if you want to go nationally, private label really is the thing that's calling all the shots at the moment. If the retailers, depending on the demand and depending on the volume of what they think they can sell, then you will get in nationally. If your product is a little bit more niche, or it's more, realistically, it's more suited to the tourists that will travel there or the expats that live there, then it is the tourist market that you need to deal with. So we actually have different strategies for both of those markets. Just the difference between them. The domestic, it's obviously national brands. There's very few imported products, whereas the tourist, it's mostly international brands. The larger retail chains obviously promote their own, no more than Ireland, like Buy Irish, the Spanish do the same. The tourist, it's more the local and independent retailers. Domestic, more traditional and Spanish products. The tourist, it's more the convenience products. It's more the products that the expats and the tourists would know when they come to the market and would look for when they're on holidays. Domestic, obviously the margins are lower, quite more so focused on the private label. Here in the tourist, it is higher margins because it's low volume. So it's you pay more for logistics, you pay more in margins to the distributor and then to the retailer. And then here it's obviously supplied directly from the manufacturers, and there's very few distributors involved, whereas here it's the imported products, the distributors, and it's mostly through distributors that you have to go. What are the retailers looking for? On the domestic side, it's obviously quality, price and service, innovation. Convenience food has in the last couple of years shown the most interest, that's what it's been shown in. International cuisine, private label products and really competitive pricing. On the retailer side of it then, it's all of the lead brands from the countries. And to cover a good selection, that's why the volumes are very slow, but they want to have a representation of all of the countries. And you just have to, the guarantee of regular supply, basically, for them, all bite small. How to approach these on the retail side, negotiating directly with the national buyers, and obviously we can provide service of that through our office. Private label opportunities, national listings via national distributors, and then on the retail side of it, it is mostly through via because you will never get the volumes to actually go to them directly. So they'll always suggest to go via the regional distributors. And then on the food service side of it, directly with the food service chains or the national distributors or wholesalers. And then on the tourist market, it's via the regional distributors or the cash and carries. Things to know. Best time to pitch would probably be February, March, as we've said there, because Christmas campaign, even now, for example, I've tried to get meetings with a few buyers just as a lead up now to marketplace, you know, to start the canvas. And they're already coming with me at, oh, we're up to our eyes with the Christmas campaign. I mean, it's only the start of September, so to me, it's, you know, but that's how they are. Literally from September until the end of January, they'll shut down. It's all Christmas campaign because it's so big over there. So the best time to pitch is February, March, which actually suits us better because obviously Marketplace is at the start of February. So if we can get them to sign up to come, which we will, it'll be a good time to get them. Then for contracts in Spain are normally due legally from January to December, so the tenders for them. One thing that you need to remember about these countries is the seasonality, the difference between the summer and the winter, the difference between hot and cold for everything, between menus to what the consumers will want, to logistics even, because obviously really there's no point in coming to Spain with chocolates in the summer because nobody's going to eat them and nobody's going to buy them, and the logistics would be so high to try and get the chill transport. So it's a big thing to remember when you're focusing in on a market, is to know how that market works and actually what the demands are for the different products. For example, in the summer, very little meat is consumed. It's more fish and salads. So it's just to kind of know what they want. Don't expect an immediate investment on return, but that's true for every market. I mean, obviously, it takes a while to get in there. So 12 to 18 months, even if, you know, to get the proper contracts. Anything for private label, it could take from 18 above that because you have to go for packaging and labeling and everything, and that takes a while. Carrefour, for example, are very slow to get back on different things. Branded products really could use a local sales force in the markets because you might get a national listing. You're not going to be sold in every store because it depends on the consumers in and around those areas. So you could go, we have a lot of times that people say, oh, but we have a national listing and I went into this store and we weren't there. But if there isn't the consumers that are going to buy that product in that area, they're not going to put it in the stores. So it's good to have your local sales force, or at least have people coming over on visits to check the stores themselves, just to kind of keep a push on the retailers, because it doesn't hurt. Potential hurdles that you can come up against. Logistics is the biggest issue that we have. It's very fragmented, and they can be very expensive in both countries. And the central distribution, I think it's about maybe 25 to 30% actually have central distribution, and then the rest of it, a lot of the times the distributors, the regional distributors that you will get, actually have to go store to store. So that does put up the price. You have strong competition from other imported products. The UK got in there a long time before we did, so we have a lot of issues with that, whereas the Irish expats maybe in the tourist regions would like to see, say, for example, Barry's tea, but if it's not there, they'll buy Lions. Do you know, or not Lions, they'll buy Tetley. You do have that issue where, and especially price as well, from the UK, the logistics are less expensive. So that's an issue that we have, but it's not something that you can still work around it. The Spanish and the Portuguese are very proud of their own product. They don't necessarily look for international things. They're very, very patriotic. So you have to understand that as well, and know what to target and where. Pricing, the Irish products we found in the last couple of years are not always competitively priced, and you have to take that into account when targeting the country. Spain and Portuguese, they're not really familiar with a lot of the leading brands, so a lot of the time you will have, if you want to come in with your brand, you'll have to have a good marketing plan behind it and be willing to spend the money and invest. And lack of resources, so that's a big issue, but that's where Board BA come into hand to help. Recommendations for doing business: really research the market well. I know that we've had it a lot of the times. What we get is people say, like, oh God, I was on my holidays in Lanzarote and I went into a store and I saw whatever, I think our product could really work. That's not enough. You need to go further than that. Yes, you could be right, your product might fit in, or there could be a gap, but it is good to do market research beforehand. It is good maybe to even ask us to do it for you, or to, if you really think your product would work, a lot of the times people do focus groups, they try and get tastings in, just to see if there is a taste for it in the Spanish or Portuguese market. To find the right partner, obviously, in the distributor. A lot of the distributors for imported products, if you do get in with them, they are quite loyal. If they do like your product, they will help you try to push it. So it is good to try and find the right partner. Adapt to the market. Sometimes you will have to adapt the product a little bit, or maybe if you have a range of products, maybe only 3 of them might actually suit the Spanish or Portuguese palate. So you have to take that into account. Payment terms, they are longer in Iberia. And what we're trying to do now, obviously, is because of before marketplace, we will try to vet as much as we can of the people that we're going to invite and do credit checks on them. That's a big thing that we've had an issue with, because Spain and Portugal have been so badly affected, like Ireland. There is a lot of issue over credit assurance. There is a lot of issue over that. So we'll do as much as we can, try to assure that the people that we do bring over are kosher, and that they will be able to pay. Personal contact is really vital. It is very good to visit the market if you are interested in it. It is good to visit the stores. It is good to see how it works over there. And also vice versa, to invite them back to Ireland, or to really show them what you can do, or your facilities or your warehouses or your factories. It's good to show them that. As I said before, marketing plans, it is really good to, if you are going for a branded product, to invest behind the product. So to negotiate that in at the beginning, if you are with a retailer or a distributor, how many promotions you might do in store, or food service, or new menus, or whatever. It's very good to do that. And as I said, like, think of what you can offer and design it, to enter into either market. Must-haves for the Iberian market: good knowledge of the category that you intend to target, the market and its trends. As far as certifications are concerned, it is normally the general HACCP and the BRC and everything. IFS is one that Carrefour tend to ask for, so that's just to keep that in mind if you were going after Carrefour. Logistics. It's very, very important to even have an idea on how much that would cost before. I know it's very hard when you don't know volumes, but even to have a generic idea of what that would cost before you sit down with a buyer, because logistics can be quite expensive. So at least if you work that into your prices before you meet them, then it'll work well. It'll obviously vary, but you can at least have an idea. If you're doing direct business, I have to say the Portuguese actually speak quite good English. They really do, so it's not always an issue. The Spanish, on the other hand, if you get in with an imported distributor, yes, they tend to speak English, but a lot of the time the retailers and that, they don't. Even in the bigger chains, even within Carrefour or Mercadona, they don't, and they don't care that they don't either. They would presume that you would have somebody. Obviously, we can offer that service as well, but if you did have somebody on your staff, or if you did have, if you really wanted a target, like, it is good to think about that. Obviously, our number in case you ever need us. As far as marketplace is concerned, we're starting the canvas as we speak to, you know, just to kind of save the date out to them first at the moment. I know that people try to think that, you know, you'll get them, but with the Christmas campaign, I think it'd be very unrealistic for us to think that before November or December that we're going to get any yeses. It'll probably be January that everybody will say then yes once the campaign is finished. But we will target like the following: the importers and the distributors, the main chains that we have. We have a few new ones. We've recently done more research on Portugal because it's a market that it's kind of like a second market for us, so we don't normally focus on it very much. But we've done a lot of research in it. We have new distributors and we have new contacts within the retail chains, so hopefully we'll have a better presence from Portugal at this coming one. All the key buyers and the retailers will be targeted in all of the different sectors, food service players as well. Gourmet and fine foods, because a lot of the times you might think that your product is streamlined retail, but when it comes to the Spanish market, it's probably classed more as a gourmet or imported product. So we will bring them over as well. And organic, the last year and a half, we've done an awful lot with organic and gluten-free and all of that. It's something that's growing in Spain. It's not as far as advanced as it is here in Ireland or the UK. So we'll also be targeting them to come over. And then for any information, that's just to show you the breakdown of the office. Cecilia is the manager, but she normally deals with meat and livestock. And then I'm consumer foods, and then Claudia is seafood. So there you go. Thank you. That was very fast. Is there